What's up? I don't know, culture of relationships, things are shifting, things are moving into what seems like a non-traditional role. What if women were at a point where they would kind of relax a little bit, because there's a lot of pushback from brothers that women aren't necessarily being submissive in relationships, right? There's a lot of combativeness, there's a lot of bringing the boardroom to the relationship. Relax a little bit. So the question is, what if women were more submissive? Do you see the same thing in just the dynamic between men and women today?
See, that's an interesting conversation. Because what you're really, at the heart of it, it's a stay in your own lane conversation. Nobody stays in their own lane in relationships anymore. In my opinion, men have become a little bit too effeminate and women have become a little bit too masculine. Because the truth is, a real man, if his presence shows up, a woman is going to respond to that. She's going to naturally find her place. My dad used to always say to my ex-husband, "She just won't let me be a man." And my father said, "You know, a real man would never say that. A woman can't let you be a man. Either you are a man or you're not a man. So if she's not letting you be a man, have you asked yourself where you coming short?" And he stopped asking my dad for advice after that. And it's absolutely true.
Yeah.
A true man doesn't have to demand or beg for or put his foot down or whine about being treated like a man if he is truly acting in his role as he should be. Leader, comforter, provider. If he's doing all of that, a woman is going to naturally fall in line.
And if he doesn't, should she respect him any less? Or should she change her expectations about, the kind of men that exist? Because you just said that a lot of men are more feminine. So how does that work?
Well, it works very simple. Be with who you want to be with. Be with who you know you actually can be with. If you're in a relationship with a person that you're not getting what you want, and this is who they are, and you're not willing to accept them at what they have and where they are, then you need to move on. That's not that man's problem. That's your problem. We have to stop being so caught up into the, I'm going to make you be what I want you to be. This ain't no Jennifer, you gonna love. Like, no, you don't got to make anybody love you.
Yeah.
Either they're going to love you or they're not. And vice versa, when it comes to women, there are so many women that have all these expectations, and I want this, and I want that, and you, and I gotta do this, and I gotta do that, and yada, 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 and blah, 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 blah. It's the same thing. Everything that you're complaining about, are you giving as good as you're asking for? Like, a lot of women have unrealistic expectations when it comes to relationships with men. Most women come with checklists. I want this, I want that, and he's got to be this, and he's got to be that. But are you any of the things that you're sitting here saying that you want?
As a woman going into the relationship that she wants. Absolutely. I get it.
Are you any of these things?
And the other thing with this checklist that first of all, I'm glad you brought that up, because I think that in order to attract that type of guy, well, first of all, do you know that's what he's looking for? Right? Because I think that takes a lot of dating, and people feel like dating is actually interviewing now. And I'm like, well, what else is it? The only reason why it feels robotic is because you have another agenda.
And you're forcing a narrative that you've seen on TV or you read in a magazine. You're not trying to get to know this man. You're just trying to see if this man can be what's on your checklist.
Exactly.
We don't spend enough time being with each other. We're in each other's presence. We're around each other. We have the pictures and the posts on Instagram. Gotta have the post on Instagram so everybody can see you got somebody. You know, like we got
Right.
all of this stuff going on. But most people in relationships nowadays, they can't tell you any core values or anything real about the people they're involved with. Because you don't know them.
That's what happened during COVID.
Oh yeah, people got forced to get to know each other.
Exactly.
Ooh, listen to me. That was better than the soap operas for me.
Yeah.
I was making bets.
Absolutely.
And I won a few. Ooh.
Yeah.
Same thing with parents and children.
Absolutely. Yeah.
You got all these things to say about your kids, and so you got to actually deal with them 24/7,
Yeah.
every day, all day. Oh, they got to go back to school because I can't. See, listen, my child is depressed.
Right.
Your child is depressed with you?
Exactly. Yes. Thank you for saying that. Thank you for saying
Your
that.
child is with you?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
He's doing bad in school, but you're there.
Yeah. Yeah.
I can't do this online schooling stuff. I can't.
Right.
Why not?
Yeah. Yeah.
But then you criticize the teachers, but you don't know shit about these kids' lessons.
Exactly.
The one thing that I loved about COVID is that it pulled down the curtain on the bullshit of these fake lives we've been living. And it got real. It got very real. So at the end of the day, to answer your question,
Yeah.
stop worrying about what ifs, worrying about what is. That would be the evolution of that song for me. Stop talking about what ifs. You can talk about the what ifs all day long. I got a song, I wrote it, you can put it on repeat. But if you actually want to get to life, worry about what is. Who are you really with? Who are you really to that person in that relationship?
Yeah.
Who are you in your home? Who are you around? People are so busy trying to achieve ideas and, you know, status quos, and they're missing out on all the good stuff. We're all, in a lot of ways, missing out on all the good stuff. But I tell you one thing, live my life with somebody. When it's over, if it comes to an end, or I want to feel like I actually knew the person I was with.
You think that growth is I'm not gonna say that it isn't important. I think that growth is important in every relationship, obviously. But I think that the expectation, really, for someone else to be there in order for you to grow.
Yeah.
I think that is something that in relationships that we put too much into the other person. So if they don't rise to the occasion, what does that say about me? Am I enough? Do I need to be more? Can you talk a little bit about what you've seen, or maybe in your own experience, how how growth is such a challenge in relationships, and why couples struggle with it?
Well, when you think of the idea of growth, let's be clear, growth is something that never stops. Growth is ongoing. If you put something in the ground and it takes root and it sprouts and then it turns into a twig and then it turns into this, and then the next thing you know it becomes a big plant or it starts to grow into a tree. It's something that's always happening. I think people are always looking for, we're going to get to this place. We're finally going to, no. I think we expect, Jesus, just sitting back and looking at my relationships, even in this conversation, there were so many things I could have done differently. You know, sometimes you got to let something be so it can grow. You know, if you do too much to a plant sometimes, you can kill it.
Right, absolutely. I killed a couple myself.
Yeah, you know,
Yeah.
so it's, growth isn't on a timetable. that, we can calculate and quantify. That's not the way it works. It's organic. It's day for day, day by day. And that would probably be easier to accept if people were actually in relationships for the long run. But most people aren't in relationships for the long run. They're in relationships until it's no longer giving what they want it to give, and then boom, they're on to the next. And these things take time.
Yeah.
They take time. There are relationships that I've seen throughout the years where the man was a mess 20 years ago, but there was growth. And then 20 years later, he's this whole other guy. And he's awesome, and you would have never thought.
Right.
But that usually only happens when a woman says, I'm in it for the long haul, I'm here for the ride, and I'm going to do this process with you. I'm not going to push you, I'm not going to force you, I'm going to tell you what I need. We got to be accepting of each other. I think sometimes people, he needs to grow, and he's not growing, and he's not doing this, and he's not doing that, or she needs to do this, and she needs to, and it's like,
And then what happens is that cutting off, just like you were saying, it doesn't last.
They cut it off and they move on, and they do that 4 or 5 times, and then relationships aren't for me.
Right.
And it's not that. It's not that relationships aren't for you. It's that the work that goes into doing the relationship isn't for you.
Exactly.
Because it's work.
It's work.
It's work, but it's not supposed to be a labor of love. It's supposed to be a labor of love, not a burden, not a sacrifice.
Exactly.
I'm giving up all of this just to be here with your ass.
Right.
And you don't. No, it's supposed to be, damn, this was a rough month. Let's hope next month is better.
Yeah. And then figure out how to make that work.
Yeah.
And going into relationships, I think that's the one thing that people don't do enough. Is to say, this is who I am.
Yeah.
This is all of who I am, and not rely on what could be or the potential is what I hear some people say, right? And so just kind of thinking about that potential, right? And you said that people could change. People do change. People do grow. The only thing we have to do is kind of take each other for as we are now, and be, I don't know, almost kind of psychic, insightful to kind of figure out, okay, is this person anxious too, right?
Right.
Do you, what level of discernment do you think that, people need to be into when it comes to, because a lot of times, I gotta say, people dismiss discernment, or they give it to God and all these other different things outside of ourselves. So can you talk about that for a little bit?
You have to be able to say that you have a fair understanding of yourself to really be able to delve into the discernment conversation. Discernment is something that's very personal and very introspective. And it does require a certain amount of intellectual and spiritual alignment. Your head and your heart have to kind of be in communication for discernment to really come into play. And the truth is I think most people struggle with it because they just really don't have a fair understanding of who they are. Most human beings, what's happening in their head, what's happening in their heart is in conflict. It's not.
Which is where the resistance comes in. Yep.
Yeah.
That's how you know. Yeah.
And in that, you sift, and then you get the good stuff. But if you can't be honest with yourself, discernment is not a possibility for you. It's just not. Because you really have to remove the ego to have discernment.
What is your definition of the ego? Because people think that it's an overinflated sense of self.
I don't think it's an overinflated sense of self. I think it is a part of people's personalities that lives beyond their consciousness. you know, I've seen humble people who are still being ran by their egos. I've seen intelligent, smart people still being ran by their egos. You know, it's the id. It's the thing that's in all of us that's driving us. Most people are ignoring it. Those who take the time to get to know it get scared by it and want to sweep it back underneath the rug because they don't want to admit. And, you know, and then there are those who just lean too hard into it. You know what I mean? Yeah, you know, that kind of thing. It's a struggle, it's a battle, it's the human condition. That's what the ego is. It's the human condition. You know, we are born clean slated for the most part. We possess energy, and then our circumstances, our environments, and the people around our lives kind of shape how we see life or how we engage in life. And the ego grows in that. So, you know, if you've been hurt a lot, or if you've been lied to a lot, or if you've been abused a lot, the ego lives in that. That's where it's all right there.
And we tend to pick relationships to
that
help heal
mirror.
that. Exactly.
What we're comfortable with,
Right.
because this is what we've been living, and complain about it the whole goddamn time. I hate it, I can't stand it, I hate it, I can't stand it, but you still, that's what you go for though.
Yeah.
That's the ego.
Yeah.
That's the ego, because there's something inside of you that's telling you, you can make it work this time.
Yeah.
That's ego.
Absolutely.
Now, you know that it hasn't worked. It hasn't worked with Johnny, Bobby, Tommy,
Mike.
Ricky and Mike, and all the rest of them. You know what I'm saying? Like, but the ego is telling you.
Yeah.
See, that's the ego.
Yeah.
That thing that you don't want to let go of. So, you know, it's but we live in an ego-driven society. Everybody is attracted to people who are egomaniacs. It
Not
looks so
really.
sexy. Oh, yes, they are. Yes, they are. Look at all the people that love Donald Trump. Egomaniac.
Yeah, but that's different though. I think
How?
that I don't think that you know. And I'm going to say this for a lot of brothers. I don't think a lot of men are into ego, like having a partner that their ego is, first of all, is not really bigger than ours. That's just a check, if I can say that.
I would agree.
Okay.
The male ego is definitely bigger than the female ego.
And fragile. That's why.
Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely.
But women in the past 50 years have now tried to embrace ego and have turned it into a competition.
Would you say that's feminism?
I mean, yeah. What is feminism?
That?
Listen
Just
to
that,
me.
yeah.
Listen to me. As a human being, from one human being to another, we are equal. As man and you a man and me a woman, we are not equal. There are differences, very significant differences. And we've tried to, I can do the same thing that a man can do. No, you can't. Just like men who say, anything a woman can do, I can do. I don't need no woman, I can do. No, you can't. And I think we've all kind of got confused in all of that. And now we're into all of the gender bending. And now we have to rename and relabel everything. I'm cisgender.
As of 2019? Because what the hell was that before?
I'm bisexual and I'm cisgender.
Yeah, but how like, okay, and I know that's kind of getting off the rails a little bit, like coming up. I think those names and terms like cisgendered and non-binary and all of that shit, how like, and that was kind of going into what I was saying at first about like, where does the separation begin and end? How do you know what to be? Should I take out the trash? Should I cook? Should I stay at home? This, that, and the third. So how, like, what is the future?
Let's take all the labels and throw it out the door and let's do the shit that we love. If you're a better cook than me, then cook.
Yeah.
And guess what? I'll clean the dishes. Or vice versa. I think we put too much into these. Well, see, we grew up in household. Men do this and women do this, and men do this and women do this,
Yeah.
and you do this and this and this and this, and you not a woman if you don't do this, and you not a man if you don't do. No.
Exactly. Yep.
No. It makes it impossible. How can you grow with finite, archaic rules like that?
Maybe it's not meant to. Maybe.
I don't know. You know, I just know one thing. If we keep trying to put a label on everything, everybody's going to end up fucking confused.
I know. I do want to go to your next single, Stay, which is another single off the Denials, Delusions, and Decisions album. I want to read the lyrics.
Yep.
Woke up feeling fine. Look to the left, there's sunshine. Dare I tell him what's on my mind?
Hell no.
Don't tell him things might change. I thought things feel strange.
Yeah.
Did I get that right?
Pretty much.
Okay. I was looping it.
But this feels strange, knowing that I
absolutely.
feel this way.
Which for me kind of feels like the first thing that came to my mind was transparency.
It felt uncomfortable.
Do you think it's overrated in relationships?
No. No. Not at all. It's the lack of transparency that kills relationships, which is why most of us are so afraid of it, because the truth is, most people do not want to admit who they truly are at their rudimentary selves, because they think if anybody finds out, they're going to leave me for sure.
And everybody's gonna know why.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And see, ego's involved in that.
I'm preaching to the choir on this one.
You
but
know?
not, and it's I don't really have a whole bunch of bullshit with me, but I'm very controlling.
Yeah.
And I'm admitting this on God knows how many places.
Look at what
but
you do
you know
for
what
a
I'm saying?
living.
Yeah. Yeah.
You chose a career where you get to curate every experience that you have, and you're in control of that. From planning the production to setting it up to writing down the questions to doing all, this is who you are.
Yeah.
This is what you chose. This is where you're comfortable. So, how does that play in your personal life?
The same.
And how does that work?
How does it work?
It works until
It
it
doesn't.
doesn't. Right?
No, well, I can say this, but
I'm a control freak.
It hasn't. But you know why? Because I think that, number one, in certain capacities, we know what works best for us.
Yeah.
Right? But I think that if this aspect of my life, if I'm able to do everything and execute it so well,
Why can't I do that here?
why can't I do that here?
Because there's another human being there. And you can't control that
Same
human
thing over here.
You can't control that human being. You can't. That person's not an actor. You're not feeding them lines. You're not reading them a script. You guys aren't doing all of that. No, this is just a person. It's just a person.
So it's the roles.
From one control freak to another, there can't be any. There can only be people. There can't be roles. There have to be people.
So if there's no roles, then where's the balance?
You find that together. Together. You got to trust each other together. That's what I want in my life. I don't want control. I don't want a role. I just want a partner. I want somebody who's going to be there, be a witness to my life, and I want to be a witness to theirs. And I want them to help me out my life, and I want to help them in theirs. And whatever it is whatever it is. Let's take out all of that crap and just live. Like, we really live in a world where we don't spend enough time living. Because if you're just living, you're not thinking about roles, you're not thinking about this, you're not thinking about that. You're thinking about, hey, I woke up. You woke up. Oh, shit. Let's have breakfast. Well, who gonna cook it?
Exactly.
No. What are we gonna eat?
I would have asked that question though.
No, but it's just. See, that's where it all goes wrong.
Exactly. Well, It's been working out.
Until it don't.
Hey, see?
Until that
you
one
wasn't
day.
supposed to mention this the other. Yeah.
No, but we
Yeah.
ask too much of each other. And a lot of times we ask from each other what we're really not even willing to give. So, yeah, transparency. It feels strange. It feels jarring. But you know what? That moment that you're completely transparent and someone accepts you, now you know you're loved.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people cheat themselves out of that moment because they're afraid.
Okay.
And this feels strange, knowing that I feel this way. Maybe I should stay. Maybe I should walk. Maybe I should go and tell him how I feel. I knew I should tell him, but I was still saying maybe. See, that's the ego.
You see? Exactly. I want to move to this question too. Just relationships. You're a married woman.
Yeah.
And if you have to give some advice or some insight or input, how do you keep it spicy?
Don't ask me. I'm married.
So no.
Don't ask me.
That makes you a pro.
No.
That makes you an expert.
No. That makes me somebody who's still wanting and longing and hoping. I think spice. Spice is cool. But it's substance. The real turn on for me in a relationship is substance. Oh.
Mm-hmm. It's deep.
Man. Yeah. The spice is nice, but give me that, start with that root.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
I do.
Especially living down here now. Because we from another place, but we done came down here and we getting into
we had to spice it up.
Mm-hmm. We the spice.
Have to, there you go.
But it's that root. Oh man, just the whole knowing you.
Yeah.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
Like really knowing you. Oh, that's such a big turn on.
Mm-hmm.
To be able to be with you. Not argue with you, not even talk, just be with you.
Without resistance.
Without resistance.
Yeah.
Like, there's a whole world of sexy in that. And a lot of people don't get there. Honestly, I think the reason why we have as many divorces as we do is because people just, they don't open up.
Mm-mm.
Like, don't argue with me about how I parked the car when what's really on your mind is that you want me to be proud of you and I don't tell you enough. Tell me that.
Mm-hmm.
Don't argue with me about the car. Don't get into arguments with me about the dishes being dirty when what you're really upset about is that we haven't had sex in 3 weeks and I'm not showing any interest and you don't know why. Like, this happens in relationships. Things start to fall off or start to fall apart or start to fall off to the wayside, and rather than actually getting right in there and saying what I really want, saying what I really need, what's really happening, I start picking at all of this other shit. And creating relevance. We don't tell each other enough.
Mm-hmm.
We don't. And I think that's where the sexy just totally leaves. Like, vulnerability
That's the
is
way.
an aphrodisiac.
Yeah.
Ooh, it really is, because once y'all strip through all of that shit and you really, now we here.
Exactly.
Now you got all the spice that you could possibly ever ask for and want.
Mm-hmm.
But it's, my greatest hope for my marriage is that my husband knows me better than anyone ever has. And vice versa. I want to know him better than anyone ever has. I want to share a connection that cannot be shared with anyone outside of us two. That's sexy. That's just sexy.
Absolutely.
Period.
Yep.
So, spice, be vulnerable.
Be vulnerable.
Be willing to go into the unknown in the person that you're supposed to know. Because there's a ton of unknown
Yeah.
in relationships. Like, if we got turned on by getting into that, imagine how many relationships would probably last. You know, there are people that have been in my life in the past that I'm ashamed to say I didn't know. Spent a lot of time with them. Did all the other stuff, but I really didn't know that person. I really didn't. We spend a lot of time with strangers that we choose to be around. You know, until it doesn't work.
Absolutely.
And then I can't believe that, and this, you didn't know that person. But did you really try to get to know that person?
And see, I'm all about the attraction side of things,
Oh,
that
yeah.
you attract what you are.
That part.
And so if you don't know, or if you choose to attract someone that you don't know, then do you really know yourself as much as you do?
See, you just got there.
And that is the vulnerability, right?
That part. And then the other side, you attract who you are. If you don't like that person,
Exactly. Yep.
maybe you the problem, because you're getting what you're putting out. So, you know, in relationships, vulnerability, man. Like, we're hitting some real stuff. You going in my lyrics and you finding stuff that I try to sweep under the rug. I do it subliminal.
You do it subliminally?
The subliminal. I be subbing.
Well, listen, thank you. I think that, number one,